Okay, so real quick, I want to go over a couple of things here, a couple different case law type papers. And someone sent me this one, and this one was sent to me in reference to um, some group claiming that the birth certificate is a trust and that there's money in it, and then the court has stated that there wasn't, but this is what appears to be the federal bankruptcy court used for federal purposes, for federal bankruptcies, including bankruptcies for military posts. Okay, and this is different than when there's an instrumentality. So an instrumentality has a different set of rules. So this looks like it's a federal court bankruptcy case. And the point I want to make is that when you look through something that is a federal case that was submitted to a federally created state or the federal government, it uses in it titles made positive, because positive titles or titles made positive have a positive law citation. Positive law citations are cited in this way. You see here 18 USC section 3057A, 28 USC section 1334. Okay, these are actual laws. Okay, they're laws and they have a positive law citation. Now, Title 26 is not a law, and we can go to the OLRC website. And let me open up another one here. I just Google OLRC. And if you've been watching my videos, you've probably seen me do all this and show all this. So Title 1, you see the asterisk here, means it's a law. Title 2 is not a law. Title 3 is a law. Title 4 is a law. Title 5 is a law. Interesting, Title 5, government organization and employees, talks about the income tax laws, because income tax laws, according to the federal constitution, are for the people working on the federal lands. Now you go down here to Title 26. Title 26 has no asterisk because it has no positive law citation. And without a positive law citation, it cannot be cited as a law because it is not a law. So if we go here where someone has Thompson, who I think, if this is the right guy, this is a, well, there's a guy named Thompson who's a heart doctor in Humble, Texas, I think, or somewhere around there, Baytown maybe. And he sued the IRS. So when they sue the IRS, they don't use positive laws. They don't use laws. Okay, because it's not a law. Because the IRS code is not a law. There's no positive law citation. So they can't cite it as if it's a law because it's not. So they can't cite it the way this case here cites it. This is the way you cite a law. The IRS code is not cited that way because it's not a law. It can't be cited as if it's a law. That's prima facie. That's on its face. So immediately when you see it, you know if it's a law or if it's not a law. So the IRS is just Internal Revenue Service. It's a service provided to the federal government, and what they do is they're a middleman, and since they're a private company, they can work off federal lands, and because they can work off federal lands, they make private contracts with private citizens, and they are allowed, because they're working with the federal government, they're allowed to use federal forms. But they cannot cite, like on the W-4, they cannot cite it as if it were a law. So if you look on the W-4 application to pay taxes, It says Internal Revenue Service or Internal Revenue Code, and then it goes on to say Section 6203, Section 6203C, A2AI, etc. But it won't say 26 USC Section 6203 because that would make it appear as if the Title 26 was a law, and it's not. It's not a law, so they can't cite it as if it were a law. Go look at the application for the W-4. They don't cite it as a positive law citation. So let's look at what this positive law citation will look like. It looks like this. You click on it, and then you go to front matter. I believe it's in front matter. And you go here, positive law citation. Let's make this bigger. This law has been made positive law by Section 1 of Act July 30, 1947, Chapter 388, 61 Stat 633. I'm telling you now so you can understand. All federal laws apply only on the federal lands and to the federal officers and employees. They don't apply to private citizens, and private people are off the federal lands. So if it's been made positive, it's saying that it's a law that applies to the people on the federal lands for federal purposes. Okay, so which provided in part that Title I of the United States Code, entitled General Provisions, is codified and enacted into positive law. Now you could just drop positive and say it's enacted into law, and may be cited as 1 USC section da-da-da-da-da-da. So how do we know what this means? You go to Chapter 3, Section 204A, and it tells you, United States Code, provided, however, that whenever titles of such code shall be enacted into positive law, the text thereof shall be legal evidence of the laws therein contained in all the courts of the United States, the several states, and the territories and insular possessions of the United States. Okay? That's how you know. It's prima facie evidence. It says, I think here in B for District of Columbia, prima facie evidence. It's somewhere in here. They change them all the time. Now, I looked up, because a lot of times in the Internal Revenue Code, they say things like Section 6203, but they don't say what. Section 6203 of what title? So I searched Section 6203 to find out where it appears in the various titles. Law or not law. So 7, 10, 12. I think 7 is, I think it's agriculture. Yeah, it's agriculture. 10 is the armed forces. 12 is banks and banking. 15 is commerce. Commerce is not a law. It has no positive law citation. 16, conservation. 19, customs and duties. 20, education. So it's Section 6203 could be any of these titles, most of which are not even positive law. Okay, and then it appears in the tables. So it'll say Internal Revenue Service. Now let's go back and look at Internal Revenue Service. There is a big difference between the IRS may, which means it has to ask you to sign the papers, even if it tells you you must or you have to, because as Napolitano said, they can lie. Politicians lie. That's what they do. They lie to suck you in and bring you in. The IRS, this IRS, acting under Title 26, not the IRS acting under Title 5 on federal lands, but the IRS acting under Title 26 off federal lands has no authority, and so they have to ask you to sign their papers, their W-4. And they can't cite it as if it is a law because it's not. So they say citing Section 6203A1 of the Internal Revenue Service. It's their code to tell them that they can ask you. They may or they can, not shall or will. Shall or will is what a positive law is. May or can is not a positive law. So I want you to look right here. This is Title 10. Title 10 is Armed Forces. Now their federal papers are called current, which means they're a type of currency. Their federal forms are a type of currency. Debt notes is not money, it's a type of currency. It's just the dollar bill that you use is just another federal form. Just like the W-4 is a federal form. They're currencies. They're just papers. They don't mean anything. But when you sign it, you have volunteered and you become a taxpayer and you make it positive law, then they come in and they take your property if you refuse to pay. So on here, they have 6203 in here. Somewhere in here. Well, I can't find it now. But then we go over here to the other one I found. Let's see. Okay, 6203, Jurisdiction of District Courts of the United States for Title 15. Title 15, Commerce and Trade, is, I don't believe that's a positive law. Let's look and see. So is it a law or not? Has no asterisk. It's not a law. Commerce and trade is not a law. Because if it were a law and it had a positive law citation, the way that they're applying it against private citizens, it would not occur. So for them to use Commerce and Trade Title 15 against private people, they can't make it a law because it's administered by an instrumentality which has no authority. This is the corporate side of government that Ron Paul has started to mention in some of his videos that I've been talking about for a while now. And he may have talked about it before in some of his other videos, but he's mentioned it a few times in his more recent videos. This is too long to search through this, so this is, oops. Title 10. There's something interesting in here. That I wanted to show you and how they word things. Okay, here. This is Title 10, Subtitle C. This is federal currency. The currency. Part 2, Chapter 833, Section 8283. Oops. For some reason, once you do this and you click off of it, it doesn't always go back to where you were looking. Okay, so what I had to do is I went to Subtitle A, and Subtitle A is, here it has 6203 that we looked up from the Internal Revenue Service Title 26, and it leads us to 10 USC 8283 because 8283 replaced 6203. So then we click on here. And this is what I wanted to show you. So this is, they do this a lot in their titles, and this makes them quote unquote current. The word shall is substituted for the words authorized and directed to. So they take out authorized and directed to, which is more explanatory, and just place shall in there. So Title 10 is a positive law. So this positive law is what you must do, but only on federal lands. The federal people, they must or shall do these things. Okay, now the word members is substituted for the word persons. So they go from citizen to members to persons, and persons, members, citizens, citizens, persons, members. It's all the same thing. Now we're talking about the armed forces, the military, because the military are citizens and citizens are members and members are persons. So when it says persons, people tend to think, oh, that means me, but it doesn't mean you, because it only means the members of the military. So the word from civilian sources are omitted as surplusage. The word hospitalization is substituted for the words hospital service. And I've explained taxpayer money or public coffer money and what the public coffer can be used for as far as medical benefits to the military. Okay, I've explained that in detail. How hospitals are used for military purposes when a on-post hospital or clinic doesn't provide a service to the member. It's a way to be able to pay a doctor who sees a member of the military. So there's contracts involved. So these contracts allow the federal government to send its members, its military members, off federal lands to get hospitalization services provided to them at government expense, because if you're in the military, you're not required to pay for your medical expenses, at least not most of them. If they're necessary, they're provided to you at federal expense from the public coffer. Abortions are not provided to members of the military. So we have the big issue with abortions. Abortion laws do not apply to private people. The requirement to have a license to practice medicine is not a requirement for private people. It's only a requirement when you're doing business with the federal government and you're seeing members of the military. That's the way it works. Okay, in the second sentence, the word authorized is omitted as surplusage. Okay, so I wanted to show you that, how they change words around, how they use words, and sometimes those words can be confusing if you don't know what to look for. So first, the IRS may, not shall, not must, not will, not is required. It's not required. So they may assess the tax against an individual partner by making computational adjustment, blah, blah, blah. According to Section 6203, it's not cited as a law. Okay, so I was looking for a couple of different cases to show you the difference between when something is cited in a case law as a law and when something is cited in what, I don't know what this is exactly, United States Court of Appeals, 8th Circuit, Commissioner of Internal Revenue, when someone is suing an instrumentality using titles that have not been passed into law, meaning they're not a requirement. It's a contract between you and the instrumentality that is a private business getting you to sign federal forms because as part of their registration with the federal government to do business with it, it was given the right to use federal forms or required to use federal forms, but it cannot cite law on the federal form, so it has to cite just a title that has never been passed into law. Okay, so there you have it. Here again, and if they send you a notice, if they send you any paperwork, they're going to send you something without the title on it. They're going to send you something without a law citation on it because it's not a law. They're going to send you something with just sections on it. The Internal Revenue Code has been given the right to, or the ability to, or Congress allows us to tax individuals for blah, blah, blah under section da, 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 da. But they will never cite it as if it were a positive law because it's not. This is positive law, 28 USC, 18 USC. These are positive laws. These are laws. Titles made laws. Public policies, public acts, public codes, they all apply on federal lands to the federal people. These things here, IRS, Internal Revenue Service, Section 6230A1, not a law. Has no authority. It's not in the Constitution. The way you see the word tax in the Constitution, but that is for the tax of the federal people on the federal lands. You can find this clearly explained in the old military officers' manuals. The tax is the tax on the officers' and employees' wages when they work on the federal lands. That's under Title V. The imposts are the taxes on their property when they bring property onto federal lands. It's taxed. When they take property off federal lands, it's taxed again. And you can find some of this stuff where the federal citizens, called citizens of the United States, in the Constitution, in the original portion of it, not the amendments, it says that they're citizens of the United States, not an inhabitant of the state. Because there's a difference between a state and the United States, a federal state and a state created by people, independent state. There's a sovereign state and there's a non-sovereign state. The federal government has placed non-sovereign states inside the sovereign state. But those non-sovereign states cannot become independent states because you cannot have an independent state inside an independent state. This is the problem with the Constitution. They call states states. They don't clarify which one is sovereign and which one's not. They just assume you know. Okay, so there you have that. You have a little bit more understanding of the problem we're facing and why things are not what you think they are. And when they lie to you, you can just ask them, well, show me the positive law citation for Title 26. I just want to see it. If there isn't one, then it's not a law and I'm not required to fill out the form. Now, the employer will tell you you cannot work with them if you don't fill out the form. That's on you. That's your decision if you want to decide that or not. Okay, so that's an individual, independent decision that you got to make for yourself. It depends, I guess, on how bad you need to work, how bad you need the job, if you want to be a taxpayer or not. I guess there are certain ways you can fill out the form without signing it. or write no contract on it or whatever. Again, that's on you. That would be your decision for yourself. But okay, that's all I have for this video. And we went over a lot of stuff. Think about what I've said here and see if you can understand it. And if you don't, leave me some comments, and I try to reply to all the comments made on my videos. So like, share, and subscribe, and you guys have a safe day.